We've been working with planners now for the last couple of years since Shropshire became a unitary council on the 1st of April 2009. Before that, we started working on the local development framework and a new community strategy for Shropshire, and we decided to dovetail the two processes. And through that process, I've learnt to see planners in a new light. I think I had a fairly sort of stereotypical view of planners, very processy driven, hidebound, that kind of thing. But I've certainly sort of seen the new side of planners, and I like what I see. I think increasingly corporate management teams are actually looking at planners in a different way. They are challenging the stereotypes, and they are actually sort of looking, to what these people can actually bring. And they do bring a vision. They do bring the sort of the step back and look at the issues kind of approach that I think is essential. I think planners need to understand the skill set that any good public service manager needs at the moment, and those are really strong negotiating skills and an empathy with their community. If you don't understand what it's like to live here and what the issues are about living here, how can you develop the framework that goes around that to say how it's going to move forwards? It's about not using professionalism as a barrier, using it as an advantage, because that sometimes does get in the way. It's about using the knowledge that they've got about what goes on, what the planning system delivers, what it can and can't do. It's about helping communities to manage their expectations. I think there is a place for a skilled planner in presenting options and consequences, and really being able to sort of translate that spatial vision in a way that makes sense to people that don't have that particular skill set. There are opportunities, I think, in terms of looking at developments in areas and seeing what's it going to look like, how's it going to weather, in 20 years' time. Is it just going to be, oh well, that was something that was done in 2010, or is it, gosh, that stood the test of time? It's that kind of thing. I think planners have got certainly the innate skills to be able to see that, but it's about being able to put that vision across to people, and that, I think, is something that isn't always done. Historically, there's been some sort of, not a disconnect. I mean, planners have always been seen as central to a local authority role, but they haven't actually been part of the corporate resource per se, have they? They're there to do a specific function, and that is to permit or not development to take place, and for the planning policies to be set down and then enacted, end of. But the skills that a planner brings in terms of that spatial awareness, their understanding of communities, are often underrated, I think. And planners actually need to sell themselves more, to sell these skills, because these days, to be a top manager, you have to have that sense of corporateness, you have to have that wider identity with the aims of the organisation and the aims of the community that you're living in. So if a planner is able to sort of capture that and to actually express that sort of skill level, then they're very valuable corporate beings, very valuable corporate assets, I think. And I certainly wouldn't be against in any way planners seeking some sort of short-term secondments to partner organisations to actually understand what it's like, what goes on in the sort of health provision type of arrangements. If I'm going to be planning where the infrastructure and the hospitals of the future and the schools of the future are going to go, what do I need to understand about the way those education of the future is going to be delivered, how healthcare is moving? What do I need to do to be able to sort of pick up on that? So I think it's it's important to sort of think about your career in a very broad term, to look out for those secondment opportunities on a long or short term basis, or even sometimes a sideways move. Corporate managers can contribute an awful lot to the corporate programme. At the moment in Shropshire, for example, we're looking to transform our services, to work with our partners in a completely different way, to do things differently and to make a difference. Planners need to be part of that, they're not separate from it. Just because the service may have a set of rules and regulations around it doesn't mean that you can't deliver it in a different way. That, I think there are opportunities here for planners to demonstrate their value to the corporate core and for that to be taken up.